So this is the drill factoring practice in the quiz review folder. Since this quadratic, the leading coefficient is not 1, I can't simply draw my x and put my product and my sum because I've got this 2 here in the front. So instead, I'm going to use the slide and divide method, where I slide this 2 here to the end, and I get a new trinomial x squared minus 5x minus 24. Now, since this has a leading coefficient of 1, I can now use the diamond method, where I put the product in the top and the sum in the bottom, and I'm looking for all my factors of negative 24 that add up to negative 5. So I'm going to list my factors of 24. I've got 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, and then they start to repeat. So I need 2 of these factors that can add up to negative 5. I realize I could have negative 8 and positive 3. That would give me a sum of negative 5 and a product of negative 24. So my factors are going to be x minus 8 and x plus 3. Now, unfortunately, I'm not just finished because I changed and I actually factored this trinomial, not this one. So now, because I multiplied by 2, I now have to undo the multiplication and divide by 2. My next step is, if either of these can be simplified, to simplify them. And my final step is to unslide. So I'm going to slide that 2 back to the front. So I have x minus 4 times 2x plus 3. Not a bad idea, if this is a quiz, to go ahead and re-multiply this using FOIL and make sure that you get what you started with. X times 2x, that would be my first terms, 2x squared. Outer terms are x and 3. Inner terms are negative 4 times 2, so that's negative 8x. Last term, negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. And this gives me a sum of negative 5. So I did get what I started with, so I know that my answer is correct. Let's try another one, number 2. My leading coefficient is greater than 1, so I'm going to use slide and divide. Slide that 3, and I get x squared plus x minus, that would be what, 42. Then I need to use the diamond method and figure out a product of negative 42 and a sum of 1, because that's a 1x. Here my factors of 42 are 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and that would be 14, because I did 3 times 14 to get 42, and 6 and 7. And I need a set of factors that will add to 1. How about 7 and negative 6? That would give me 1 as a sum and a product of negative 42. So my factors are x plus 7 and x minus 6. But again, I'm not finished because I factored this trinomial, not this one yet. So since I slid and multiplied, now when I unslide, I have to divide by the 3. My next step says that I have to simplify, if possible, either of these. The 7/3 can't be reduced, but 6/3 becomes 2. Now I'm ready to unslide any fractions. 3x plus 7 times x minus 2. Not a bad idea on a quiz to check and make sure you got the right answer by foiling out what you got as your factors. First term 3x times x, 3x squared. Outer terms, 3x times negative 2, negative 6x. Inner terms, 7 times x, 7x. And my last term, 7 times negative 2, negative 14. Put these together and I get x, 3x squared, 1x, and negative 14. That's what I wanted. All right, let's go to number 3. Now, number 3, I know it starts with an x cubed, and then has an x squared, and then has an x. So number 3 actually has an extra step where I need to factor out that greatest common factor of x. So I'm going to pull, what I've done is I'm dividing each of these by x, and I'm pulling the x out in the front, getting 8x squared plus 18x minus 5. And now I'm left to factor this trinomial. Again, this trinomial does not have a leading coefficient of 1, so I need to slide and divide. Multiply the 8, and I get x squared plus 18x minus 40. Now this x is going to be part of my final answer, but I'm not going to keep writing it as I'm factoring out this part. Now I'm going to think about my factors of 40. I have 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10. I know that I have 5 and 8. Looks pretty good to me as far as factors. Do any of these, could I make 18? What about 2 and negative 20? So I'm trying to have a product of negative 40 and the sum of 18, so I can do 20 minus 2. So this becomes x plus 20 and x minus 2. Now I have to remember to put that 8 back. So now I'm unsliding the 8, which means now I have to divide both of these by 8. I have to now ask myself if either of these can be reduced, and they can. X plus, these can both be divided by 4, and I get 5 halves. These can both be divided by 2, and I get 1/4. Then I unslide, and I get 2x plus 5 times 4x minus 1, and now I've got to remember to bring that x back down. And of course you can FOIL and check and make sure that this part at least you did correctly. Right now I'm not going to worry about the x, I'm just going to do these two trinomials. The first terms would be 8x squared, outers would be minus 2x, inners would be plus 20x, and the last minus 5. And this is giving me my 18x. And then when I multiply it all by x, 8x cubed, 18x squared, minus 5x. So I can feel confident in my answer.